Good morning and welcome to Elevate, the Global Commerce Summit. I'm Patricia Wu, your host, along with my co-host and analyst, Scott Hebner. Yep. And we're here at the Miami Beach Convention Center. Not bad for a gig, right?
Yeah, it's hot down here, let me tell you.
Only thing hotter is the future of commerce.
There you go.
And we have got just the guy to take us into that future. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got Jason Cottrell, the CEO and founder of Orium.
Great to be here.
So, you're all about the future and helping people get ready for it. Tell us what you do at Orium.
Absolutely, so we see this future coming and it's composable, it's intelligent, it's increasingly agentic. So what we try to do at Orium, we're the largest consultancy and system integrator focused at the intersection of composable data, AI, and systems. So companies like commercetools hosting this wonderful event here, great partners of ours.
So let's just bring it to life for our audience. Give us like a success story or a use case of how these solutions really impact your clients.
Sure, so we see customers really starting to approach this from two angles. So obviously, some of this technology now is really changing the way customers run their business. They're able to bring in specialty systems that really are able to take like specific roles tailor-made for their business. They don't have to write custom software anymore. They can choose from many vendors in terms of like where do they want to drive competitive advantage, get more efficient. And those play really well now to this emerging world of AI and agents. Most of these vendors are putting very aggressive investment into turning on automation, in changing how staff can interact with this, in changing how customers will interact with this. If I think of really great examples though, I think the companies that are really pushing boundaries, they're looking for incremental efficiencies, but then they're rethinking how they're going to relate to customers, how they're going to relate to and kind of gain market share in this new world. There's a great quote from Ethan Mollick that I really love. There's one advantage that has been so core to your business that's held true for the last few decades, and it's now gone. With the recent advancements. And then there's another thing that was your customers want, but that was never possible. And that's possible now. And so your job is to figure that out before anyone else does. And so I think our customers that are pushing boundaries, more customers that have been coming to us like New Balance or Steelcase or Google, they're pushing boundaries and trying to say how are we reimagining how we relate to customers using what agents, using what some of this AI capability can now do.
So if you kind of looked at a couple years ago,
yeah.
You look at today,
yeah.
And then perhaps a couple years out,
yeah.
How's this all changing, particularly with the infusion of AI, yeah. Right, into these experiences? So
we start to look at less from a systems perspective and thinking more like what are the jobs to be done, what are the interactions, and a lot of what we do today is very much humans using a technology, and we're starting to think more and more how do these technologies create more self-learning, self-adapting, or self-adapting, always-on interactions that are getting smarter and smarter with every use. So I think the companies that are doing really well are starting to rethink, where do we have what are those key interactions? Where are the costs in our business? Where can we not be, where are we kind of on during business hours but not 24/7? What are the things that we can start to kind of disrupt, recreate using these new advancements? I think what is changing in a big way is where customers buy. Right, so we're already seeing a number of our customers where they're not coming. Consumers are stopping coming to their own channels, or we're seeing declines in traffic. They're starting their research elsewhere, and then maybe coming to their own channels or into their store. They're maybe starting the research on the property, but then buying. Increasingly now they've got options to buy through an agent. And so I think we're going to see this added channel, or this collection of added channels. It's going to fragment what are already often fragmented consumer flows to begin with. And so I look at it as it's a bit of a Game of Thrones, right? You can't place one bet and this provider's going to win, and then if I just support them, I'm good to go. I think to really kind of be to survive and thrive in the next few years, what a lot of brands are going to have to do is think about, look, let's assume there's lots of change and variability. Let's assume all the tech majors, all the AI labs are going to have extensive new announcements every few weeks. And so what are the foundations we need to put in place to, what's going to stay true no matter what? How they're organizing some of their proprietary data? How are they able to actually like surface the information in the APIs to collect and accept orders in these channels? What are those bets probably stay true no matter what, and then allow them to move very quickly as things change rapidly over the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people are familiar with using the chatbot out there.
Yes. Yep.
Over the last couple of years, we've had the infusion of these AI assistants that are using generative AI, and I think a lot of people are familiar with that.
Yes.
Large cross-section at least. Agents are a whole new game, right?
Yes.
And I think those are starting to become real today. I know you guys have a bunch of AI agents, which we'll get into in a couple of minutes here, but how do you see the agents being different than the AI assistants?
Sure, so when we're working with customers, how we try to get them thinking about agents versus assistants, I think it is the degree of autonomy that they're given and the tools that are at their disposal and their ability to make sense of what they need to use in order to kind of solve a problem. There's a customer service startup, Minimal, which has built on the agent framework LangChain. And I really love, for example, their ability to look at incoming customer interactions, make sense of information that's sent by text, make sense of photos or video that customers might be sending in, piece out, look, is there one problem in this customer's concern? Are there four? And then what do I need to do to solve that? Do I need to go to our warehouse system or a fulfillment system? Do I need to actually go look at the product data? What do I need to do to solve this? What are the policies that apply? So these agents start to get into much more complex use cases, more towards what human operators might do, and even to understand, what can I do on my own versus what do I need to run by a person? And so their ability to kind of structure those types of much more complex interactions and do it over a period of time, maybe over multiple customer service interactions, that starts to get more and more on that continuum of agentic.
Yeah, so it's trying to help solve the goal that a buyer might have, how to help you make decisions, automate a lot of what's going behind the scenes, where the agents were more, or the assistants were more of just a conversational information source, right?
And that's correct, and with maybe fewer tools available and less autonomy on how they complete their task, or are trusted with things like financial decisions, or key kind of brain and customer interactions. And I think it's very timely being here at Elevate. Part of that notion of more agents versus assistants is that access to external tools. So external data, external systems, other agents. And so when we talk about, say, some of the background and strength with commercetools and composability, that's a challenge of composability. I think it does relate as well as you're thinking through transformation strategy over the next few years. There isn't one AI bet that we take this, right. I'll buy this one thing, and then I'm good to go. Things are evolving so quickly. So if we think through how you might be building agents, how you might be buying agents, making sure there's that composability, the ability to rapidly add tools, swap out tools, add other agents they can interact with, swap them out. Thinking through composability just at the core of how you put them together is what will make sure that what you spend 6-9 months working on isn't immediately antiquated, but that you can kind of evolve the parts as things move very quickly over the next few years.
Right.
Yeah, so we've been talking all about the future, all about getting to that solution the fastest, talking about agents. How does that all play in with your announcement of this new industry solution in healthcare?
Absolutely, I think it's a really great example. So, so we were very proud to announce, alongside commercetools and some of our other partners, our health industry solutions. So for health and pharma, and what we've seen, historically, obviously this is an incredibly important space, incredibly impactful to the lives of so many individuals in the U.S. and around the world. But in the past, some of the compliance and kind of specific requirements in this domain meant that companies had very few options to buy. And often they were antiquated and not meeting kind of the expectation that buyers would have in the rest of their daily interactions, or they had to build and extensive, long-running, multi-year projects to try to build, and then the time, cost, energy, effort to maintain that. And it's tough to be innovative when you're essentially spending millions of dollars to do what is now viewed, what was 10 years ago viewed to be table stakes, right. And so a lot of what we're trying to do is say, look, you've got options now to buy and build. There's a number of options on the market which are HIPAA compliant, meet kind of key regulatory and kind of domain specific requirements. So you can take off the shelf products like a commercetools and do things like cart, checkout, catalog, some of the things that you don't have to go recreate those, but then we can bring in, either health specific or pharma specific vendors. We can build custom modules just for the things that you need them for. We call it buy and build, and it's trying to strike the right balance there. Where I think this is really important going forward, there isn't the space now to spend millions of dollars building kind of table stakes capabilities.
Right.
Companies need to be freeing up those resources and putting them very aggressively into rethinking their AI, their data, their AI, their agent strategy. And so it's freeing the resources up for that so that it can be invested in kind of new capabilities that are going to grow market share, that are going to make things more efficient. You've got to be investing there.
Yeah, this health and pharma space seems so ripe for disruption.
It is. I mean, if you look at demographic trends, if you look at kind of changes in consumer expectation, like this is a space where there's so much potential for innovation over the coming decade.
So on the subject of accelerating innovation, let's talk a little bit about the composability part. And I know you were a founding member of the MACH.
Not founding, but very, very early.
Very early.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were one of the originals, right?
And now I'm on the board of the executive board of the MACH Alliance. That's correct, yes.
Right. So you've been involved with that from the very beginning. I think you've built your architecture around it. For the people in the audience, MACH is, what does it stand for again?
Microservice, API first,
cloud
native, and headless.
And headless. So it's a microservices architecture, and you kind of think about agents, right? And you get into MCP, right? You start getting into that notion of they're really microservices, but they're agents representing people.
So I think that's correct. Like I like to say, if we look at a customer, even if I look at our own business, we've got 60 different pieces of software that run our business. We're just a few hundred people, let alone our customers running, tens of thousands, hundreds, in some cases hundreds of thousands of employees globally, and you don't have one piece of software that runs your whole business. And for every piece of software that you have, many that remain just even 5 years from now are going to have AI or agentic capability added on. I think that becomes kind of a standard for companies that will thrive, ISVs, software companies that will survive in the next few years. And you're going to have new AI native or agent native startups that come in this space.
Right.
But all of these, they're not going to exist in a vacuum. And so I think that the principles of MACH really hold true very, very well. Like to meet the performance requirements that these types of agents and interactions are going to require, that MACH foundation is more important than ever. If we look at customers who still don't have workload in the cloud, who are still on systems that are maybe 15 years dated, hosted in a colo at their headquarters, that's going to be very difficult now to meet the pace of change that this next generation of software is going to require.
Yeah, my take on it is it sets you up very well for the world of agents, right?
Yes.
I mean, the fact that you've been on that foundation with the Alliance for so long.
Our customers who are furthest in, like if I think of Harry Rosen, they transformed to commercetools back in 2020, and really went with a more MACH-oriented, a true composable approach to their architecture. For them now, change isn't scary, right? If they're trying to make changes to individual elements of what they're doing, if they want to add in, we're seeing, for example, big changes in what's expected now for customer service automation and support, right? We're saying, hey, I've got ChatGPT or Gemini over here. I expect the same in any of my interactions with you. So if they want to swap something like that out, or for search and discovery, as there's new advancements there, they're able to do so now in weeks, or sometimes even days, and it's not months with hundreds of thousands of dollars invested. And so I think that type of flexibility, the ability to curate, comes with that composable approach and that MACH architecture.
Right.
And the pace of change is only picking up. It's not slowing down.
So true. So what's next for you guys?
So I think a lot of our focus continues to push into helping our customers. First, I think that the expectation of vendors right now should be that the vendors in your ecosystem are turning on these capabilities. and doing that for you. So for most companies, they shouldn't be going and spending tens of millions of dollars investing in kind of bespoke AI. There's literally thousands of startups coming on the markup, each approaching parts of this problem. So a lot of the way we look at it is, let's go look at the vendors you have in place that are, let's look at your order management, for example. Is your order management provider, for example, actually putting real investment into unlocking and turning on new capability here for you? Are they doing that by leveraging some of what's coming on the market with AI, with agents, and bringing that as a packaged option for you? And if you have providers in your ecosystem that aren't investing there over the next 12 months, maybe we should look at moving them out. If customers right now aren't yet on a composable architecture, or it's just they're not able to do that kind of curation fast enough, well, let's put some time, energy, effort into the systems and data foundation there, so that let's spend the next 6 to 12 months, let's fix that, because things are only going to start to move faster. Right. And then I think then it comes back to, then let's take that critical view of, if there are one or two more proprietary bets, what should those be? So I think that goes back to the original point that I made, or one of the earlier points I made. What's going away in your competitive advantage? What's something new that you can do? And how do we kind of explore that adjacency? So we have workshops that will run specifically to, there's common shifts that companies can take based on what's eroding. Here's adjacencies that might hold potential. So then how do we look at proprietary bets specifically there? Let's let everybody else try to handle the table stakes and just kind of wringing more efficiency out, or getting us into the channels that are expected. And then if we're going to place a strategic bet, it should be in one of those domains that's kind of a large adjacent market that you can go after.
Oh, thank you so much, Jason. You gave us a lot to think about.
Absolutely.
I love the roadmap with the practical things to think about.
Hopefully that was helpful. This was great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
And thank you so much for watching. We're here at Elevate, the Global Commerce Summit. I'm Patricia Wu for Scott Hebner, and we'll be right back. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in enterprise tech news and analysis.